there's a trailer. It's brand new for the Iron Claw, which tells the story about the Von Erich family. Any chance you've seen that trailer yet?
I haven't.
Oh man, it is definitely worth a look. But really, more than talking about the trailer, I wanted to talk to you about the Von Erich family. Did you ever spend much time around them?
Uh, no, I really didn't. Of course, Fritz von Erich. He promoted wrestling in Dallas basically for the longest time, and it's one of those places I never went. I mean, I might have wrestled there one time, and I can't, and I don't know what I can't remember why, you know, um, and I don't know. It's just kind of I don't know.
Now, when you say wrestled there one time, do you mean wrestled in his territory or wrestled in the sportatorium?
No, in the sportatorium.
One time.
Yeah, maybe one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The-
Yeah, I mean, I never wrestled. I mean, I never wrestled what I guess they would call it the Dallas territory.
mhm.
I mean, Texas is so big. I mean, Amarillo, and I just came back from Amarillo again. I was just there for a Comic Con, and got to see my son and everything. And again, nostalgically, I drove around to a lot of places. I went and visited Terry Funk's grave and his wife's, and
Mm.
anyway, West Texas State. That's where I went to college, and West Texas State is just like 11 miles um, west of Amarillo. I mean, south of Amarillo.
Okay.
So anyway, Amarillo is near and dear to my heart. I mean, I have so many memories of Amarillo. So
It's funny because when I saw that trailer for the Iron Claw, and I was like, "Oh, the Von Erichs, it's Texas." I bet Ted has a lot of experience around the Von Erichs, but realistically, Amarillo's like 5.5 hour drive away from
yeah,
Dallas. So,
yeah.
just because you were in Amarillo doesn't necessarily mean that you worked for the.
Well, oh yeah, and again, okay, so Amarillo, but the Amarillo territory consisted of Amarillo. Okay, if you go Amarillo, I mean, you still have to go somewhat south. We would wrestle in Amarillo. Okay, I mean, Sunday was Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's 300 miles west. Then you come back to Amarillo. Monday night was Abilene. Well, I mean, I wonder how far Abilene is from Dallas, but Abilene was on Monday night. Tuesday night was Odessa. Wednesday night was San Angelo, which is again south of Odessa. And then Wednesday night, we would all drive back to Amarillo, and we would wrestle in Amarillo on Thursday night. Friday night was Lubbock. And then Saturday was the TV show. And the short trip was Hereford, Texas, which is only 30 miles from Amarillo. Or the long trip would have been to either Pueblo, Colorado, or Colorado Springs.
That's
So,
that's quite a riding schedule, and
oh yeah,
I just
oh
looked it
yeah,
up. Abilene's about 3 hours away by
yeah,
car from Dallas, so that may have been the closest you got to their territory.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I never, and for whatever reason, I never. And I guess probably because of my relationship with the Funks, I never saw a reason, to go to the Dallas territory. Yeah.
Right.
And again, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what the Dallas territory consisted of. You know,
Well,
what their towns were.
Jake and I recently talked about him working in WCCW in 1984, and to say the least, he was not necessarily satisfied with his experience there, not just from a money standpoint, but also, the Von Erich boys are working on top, and they weren't necessarily responsible all the time. They certainly had some substance abuse issues, and Jake was saying, like, they'd promote a town with these guys, and everybody's showing up in town to see the Von Erich boys, and they just wouldn't show up.
Yeah,
And I mean, had you heard that kind of scuttlebutt about the Von Erichs at all,
yeah.
or were you just kind of in your own world over there
No,
in Amarillo?
no, I've heard all that. Yeah,
Now,
not really a good name in the business.
Now I know that you were, and we're about to move on to the topic. I just find this fascinating with the movie coming out. I know that you were around Kerry Von Erich at least during his time in the WWF. I mean, did you ever work with him?
Um, yeah, I did. I think I worked with him one time and actually had a decent match. But that's because I was calling it.
Hmm.
You know, so
That is kind of what we hear about him. There's a famous story about him showing up to wrestle Ric Flair. I think they were in Texas Stadium or something. Kerry was under the influence to the point where he couldn't even lace his own boots. Somebody had to lace him and get him out to the ring. And they said that he had a fever during the match, which is why he was not quite himself. And, Ric Flair being Ric Flair, he could work with a broomstick, and he was out there and got a good match out of him. So it's a shame because, you look at the guy and you look at all the Von Erich boys,
yeah,
great look, great lineage. It's like, man, if they could have held it together, I mean, sky's the limit.